Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch. First of all, we have a question for you. Who have ever hired an IT developer or IT people, IT talent? Okay, so keep your hands up. Who has found it easily? Okay, I see less people now. So the thing is, indeed, one of the findings that we had over the last 8 years here in the Philippines with my business partner and myself, with our KPO, is that IT talents are very hard to find in the Philippines. And the thing is, it's a little bit strange because when you think about it, the market is very big. So how come that it's so difficult? So that's one of the things that we'd like to discuss today with you. So what are the challenges today in the IT recruitment? First of all, when coming 8 years ago with my wife and kids to the Philippines, we realized the country is big. There's 100 million people, a lot of people, and a lot of IT talent as well. So that's a very good thing. So we were very positively surprised. People kept on calling me when I was in digital advertising, saying Fred, do you have software developers? Couldn't you find some talents for us because we'd like to work offshore? And the thing is, indeed, there's a lot of talents only in the IT BPO. These are some estimates from the IBPAB. So there's around 150,000 people working in IT and engineering. And then every year, no graduation happened, it's around 66,000 people in IT and engineering. Not even to mention the people that are abroad, the OFWs, 2.4 million, around 9.5% or to 10% are professionals, and some of them are in IT. So the thing is, yes, there's a lot of talent, but the thing is they're scattered. Everyone knows there's talent, but the thing is we don't know where they are. We would like to get in touch with them. And the thing is they're really hard to get. So hard to get because eventually some they prefer I don't know if you've experienced the people that raise their hand. So some people, when you have this exciting contract for them, because we're here all to build the next fintechs or the next tech companies of the Philippines, and we want to outpace Singapore and Hong Kong and so on. But the thing is, some people, they say I have a better opportunity working abroad. So they prefer to stay abroad, or they go for greener pasture. Fortunately, this trend has decreased a little bit in the last year. But the thing is, still in the last survey that was conducted, it's a declaration. It's not that 76% are working from home, but 76% of the Filipinos that were surveyed said if ever they had the opportunity, they would prefer to work from home. And this is about the infrastructure. We talked a lot about the infrastructure, DSL infrastructure, and you just mentioned now with your speech, indeed, it's very important as long as you have a fast internet. The thing is, it's important to have a fast jeepney too. Because some of our employees, they don't want to come to the office anymore because it takes more time. So in SPI and in many companies, in Data One here, I see many people in the tech industry, we know what it is. Then sector competition is fierce. That's probably our problem all. The thing is, if we all would be, if the talent wouldn't be so scarce, the prices wouldn't go so high. But eventually, yeah, let's say the competition is increasing. And eventually, and this is one of the points we realized, we were talking about the banking system this morning, and saying it's mostly inefficient. I think it's it's a way to say it, and there's other markets that are really not efficient anymore, or not yet. So that's where we realized maybe this is somewhere where the supply and the demand, they don't really meet each other. So how can we do that? So supply and demand. Let's talk about the supply first. So there was a graduation recently. Everyone graduates. So everyone is happy. We see posters and tarpaulins in front of the schools. So it's great. Everyone graduated. The thing is, this is from the PMAP interview in 2012, but I don't think I think it's still valid today. These were the three main factors by the PMAP that were mentioned back then, saying the talent that we have. Okay, so let's say among them, only 40% are readily employable. Because of these three things, saying there's a couple of things that are missing, let's say being like the communication skills. But at the same time, okay, we're hiring IT developers, so if they talk machine, it's good enough. But then the second one was really like the fact that eventually like we should be able to think out of the box. And eventually, like for some of the talents as well, like it's really like the fact to sometimes to be able to have to be more versatile and to be able to work in different environments. So, okay, this is where eventually we can train them. This is our duty to train them. But somehow, some employers, they want people to be readily employable, and this is where eventually, like, we're trying to train our own workers to be like up to our standards. So that's the thing. But for the fresh grad, let's say on the supply side, and I invite you all, by the way, but you're here. Don Feldbohm was here this morning from the AmCham. I'm with the EuroCham, and where I'm chairing the Human Capital Committee, and I invite you to join us as well, like, because we're talking with Deb, Ed, and Ched. We started like with Undersecretary Oy to really like see how we can bridge this gap, because this is something where all the industry has to work on. We can, of course, we can complain, but we have to be part of the solution as the private sector, and we really need to help the government on this. So, next thing is, and I'm pretty sure, like in the BPO, in the tech industry, like you've been faced with this before, and this was my experience over the last 6 years with our KPO, is like sometimes reality doesn't really meet the expectations. You know, this kind of Code Ninja, Angular, JS, Superstar, or this full stack developer on paper doesn't really appear to be the person we wanted to hire after a test or after a thorough interview. So this is not linked to the market, especially. This is probably like something that's a little bit everywhere, and especially in IT, but that's the thing. Eventually, with the current, we're talking about this market that's inefficient, with the current setup of the market, eventually with the way the portals are made and the way you can advertise yourself, like eventually you're not always sure like to have this talent that is gonna be like the person that you really want to hire. So, what do we know about IT talent in the Philippines? So after several years, like working, hiring myself software developers, so I was in the startup mode like earlier, and eventually like doing the hiring myself, I realized like there's a couple of things that are here in the market that are really not enabling us like to go straight to the IT developers, to the Swiss Army knife of our dreams. So first, in terms of market, like when you look, there's a lot of companies that still rely on like physical bulletin boards, like sometimes going to universities and trying to see with alumni, not alumni, I mean like with the people that would go out of school, the graduates. There's some generic job portals, very big, nearly like a monopoly actually, because now they all merge into one. There's some so ERP, like it's something that works really well, like the employee referral program, and that's a little story that I had with let's say like call him John or Juan actually, with Juan when we were talking about his hiring process. He told me, you know, Fred, I'm done with this portal now. It's over. It doesn't work. I tried it, and we were in an event like that, like sharing, like between BPO practitioners. And he said, like, it's not working. Like, what works for us is really employee referral program. I need to just double the amounts, and I'm gonna get like good referrals, and they're gonna come, I don't know where from, like, but eventually my employees are gonna bring me my next recruitment, my next talent. And the second thing is like, yes, so, and I'm trying as well, like sometime when I really don't get it, it's really headhunting, and then this helps me. This is what Juan told me about IT recruitment, and I could share this with him. I said, by the way, the ERP, thank you for the advice. We were like scaling up and getting to close to 100 by that time. I said, like, I'm gonna set this up, but eventually, I don't think it's solving. It's like the 40% of the fresh grads that are readily available. We keep on being on the same pond. Eventually, it's actually we're not improving the market by just like I would say, chase or poach from each other. So the thing is, how can we like eventually like have a better database of what's existing in the Philippines? And everyone mentioned this morning about whether it's about banks or about setting up your own business in, with the roses and the flowers. Like it's all about like developing new markets. And so it is as well with the IT professionals. So the thing is, supply and demand is really unbalanced. And this is something that, so the numbers, okay, we can discuss them, because eventually this is about like the number of published jobs that are every year on different portals. Some are republished. So you don't know whether it's 500 or let's say 300. But eventually, like, there's only know like 200,000 IT professionals that have these higher standards in the wider Metro Manila and Cebu and Davao and some other cities. And eventually we're talking about like 500,000 job postings every year. So the thing is that it's largely unbalanced. So there's actually, if we could keep on having like more talent that come on the market, it would help us like to have this balance. So if you have, so I have one, so I know that some of you have kids like me. Mine are not like in age of graduating, but if you have kids, like let them start studying IT or engineering, because this is really something that the country is going to need, because we keep on developing and we keep on sustaining all these fintechs and all these tech companies, and eventually we need more IT talent. So the thing is like, this is like, these are like the most applied roles today. We have like a sample that is really representing the population. You see that eventually, like so far, like we're like in tech support in the country, like we have as well like the BI is coming, like business analysts. A lot of people are trying to get onto big data. They need as well like more and more people that are able just to think. So that the basic skill is the critical thinking. So these kind of things, these kind of roles are the most in demand today. So these are the things that structure the supply and the demand today. So what is the solution? Because like, okay, look, we're here like trying to build the next startups and the next tech companies of the future, but eventually, like, what are some of the things, what are the solutions that are open to us? First, let's go to some myth busting. So we will help you going through these myths with like our experience. We have been in the market for the last 10 years in Europe and the Americas, and then we've opened 15 months ago in the Philippines with ICTjob. And eventually we gathered some of the information. Most of the information you see here is like it's local information, but eventually like we saw some of the myths that actually we need to bust. So yes, we represent all the IT roles on our portal. So like you see like some stats about it, and like most of the people in the portal are not fresh grads. So like 80% on the portal that we represent are actually experienced. They have more than 2 years experience. So and we're covering most of the languages. So let's go to the myth and see with you eventually like what are the things that we need to address. So the myth of the all-around Swiss Army knife full stack developer, I think in 2010 when it was all about LAMP, so you know like it was possible. It was possible because like the full stack developer back then needed to manage less things. But the stack has gone like so much bigger now that you cannot be a full stack developer dealing with Amazon warehouse, Node.js, AngularJS, and then you have like we talked about subscription, then you're like dealing with external, you're interrogating external database to authenticate, to log in. So the full stack, the stack has gone bigger. So if you have full stack developer, please treat them well, because eventually it starts to be the unicorns. So the full stack developer, they don't exist anymore. So eventually we cannot do everything. So the first thing is really like, it's all about like candidates that can do everything, it's not true. Eventually, like, we have to focus as employers, and eventually if you see something like this, eventually it's a little bit biased because eventually this person probably is overselling. So that's why, like, one of the answers that we have with ICTjob is the skill matrix. That's something that's proprietary, that as well, like, will prevent us from going away from this IT market. So every person that submits his resume on ICTjob goes through the skill matrix. And the skill matrix, then you see all the different roles and languages and the systems and the applications that are widely available in the Philippines. And so that's the first thing, like, people that can do everything eventually have this restriction on the portal just to say the 7 things that are the best skills that they have. So it's the 7 wonders, so we call them. So the 7 wonders is like the 7 best skills that they have. And they can only tick those boxes and nothing more. So the system doesn't even enable it, which simplifies your view as a recruiter because you see only like the best thing that the people do. Let's go to the second myth. And this is the myth where, like, you know, some people on their social media, they have this status like saying it's complicated. So, well, you know, in employment, it can be complicated too. Because it's not because you're employed that you're not available. And it's not because you're unemployed that you're available. So let me explain this. So I think you got it. The thing is, it's complicated. Some people want to just get a new job, but they won't say that they're unemployed on their LinkedIn. Of course not, because they're employed, but the thing is they're searching. And so, like, we have developed this thing that is really meant to say, like, either you're available immediately, or you're employed, or you have this kind of complicated, like, you can be on assignment if you're on projects, on this kind of project, or you know that eventually you're going to end this and you're going to resign actually next month. So that's the thing, like, eventually this status is something that we've developed more than 10 years ago now with ICTjob, just to make sure that we have this kind of availability feature that enables recruiters to go not only for the people with the best skills, but also for people that are immediately available. Myth number 3, and that's the last one actually, is like one portal can rule them all. This was my landing page, I don't know, maybe I was not on the internet myself, but something like more than 10 years ago. And I remember when I was in digital advertising, I used to sell Yahoo landing page. No, these were not these ones, but landing page. And I remember as well, we had packages to sell like the email login. So there were a lot of advertising going there. I think today this kind of things it's still valid for some target groups, but mostly like it's a little bit outdated. Think of the way you got the information. Your information yesterday. There was a brilliant slide by Peter this morning showing that everyone was reading the newspaper before, and now it stays the same. Think of the way you got your information. You got, like, I don't know, like you went probably like on Yahoo, and then you were reading about the celebrities, and then you got, maybe you go a little bit on PEP, and then eventually you got all the information you needed. Everything is brought to you on one portal. Now today you're getting, in your news feed, you're getting some information from all kinds of different sources. You're getting information from Rappler, you have probably some newsletters. There's so many different ways for you to get the information. So we believe this kind of portal, one portal to rule them all, is something from the past. This is an analogy. I'm not even mentioning in the job portals, of course, but you know where I'm aiming at. So the thing is, one large portal doing everything is not really something that us IT recruiters that we need or that is sufficient for us. So that's why, like, eventually we believe in aggregation. We believe in multicasting. We believe in the fact that eventually we are not going to be the destination portal for everyone at any time, but eventually if they can see the information that we have, if someone reads the information that we have on another portal, on another social network, it's fine. And that's why we have this international deal with LinkedIn, so that like every time that people are posting on our website, which is like still a small website with just about like 300 to 500 jobs at any time in the Philippines, but still like, that's something that's very specialized only for IT recruiters. Eventually, like, you're going to be multicasted on LinkedIn, on CareerJet, on Indeed, and eventually this is the way that we're going to have these candidates coming through you. So this is the way, like, eventually, like, for us all, and you mentioned it earlier, so this is the way, like, eventually that we have to reinvent the way that we go to these IT professionals. Because I'm like you, I don't know where they are, but the thing is, I know what they do. They're on their phone, and eventually they're online, and this is what we do. We engage with them on forums and on different places where they go, on Facebook, etc. So that's the thing. Eventually, like the other day, I got a phone call from Juan, and he was telling me, like, Fred, what is it that you've done now with ICTjob? Because I realized, like, I hired 3 people in 3 weeks from your portal. What changed? Like, what is the thing that's eventually that you set up? And eventually, like, this was all about like this multicasting, the different ways to go to this scattered but still very exciting market that are the IT talents in the Philippines. And eventually nowadays, like, I hope that you can be like Juan and enjoy this. And eventually, I hope that you evangelize and you believe in the strengths of this marketplace, because we believe in this place in the Philippines, we're going to build eventually the next fintech and the next tech companies. But for that, we need a strong labor market as well. So thank you very much. And if you want to help us building a more exciting marketplace, you can contact us anytime. Alvin is here as well at the back of the room, and we'll be happy to entertain questions later on in our session with Richard. Thank you very much.